Today on Our Space, if you're going to sneak around, maybe don't leave behind a signature scent. Like, at least try a little? Switch it up. Go unscented. My engaged friend and my wife slept together. I waited until his wedding before exposing them to the entire venue. I, 32 male, have recently learned that my wife, Maria, 32 female, and one of my best friends, Paul, 34 male, who happens to be engaged, have been sleeping with each other. I'm not entirely sure how long it has been going on for. I don't know if it has happened more than once. All I know is that it happened, and I'm heartbroken. I've been married to Maria for only 3 years now. Paul is literally engaged as we speak, and his wedding is in a few months. I have engaged with a lot of stories about men who find out that their partners are cheating on them, and it can be very easy to just treat them as stories. But now, knowing the kind of emotional pain they go through, I don't think I can ever read any of those the same way, ever again. Feeling it firsthand is something that I don't wish on anyone but the very worst people, quite honestly. I've known Maria since our college days. She was in a relationship back then, and so was I. But we were very good friends. We got along really quickly because we liked the same things, and she ended up being my best friend at the time. Her relationship ended, and about a year after that, mine did too. It took a few years for the two of us to being single before I decided to express my feelings to her, and thankfully for me, she felt the exact same way. So we started to date. When it comes to Paul, I met him after college, at a party that my friend was having in the city. We talked quite a bit, and then we hung out a few times after the party. We were very quickly becoming close friends, and he kind of just joined my general friend group from there. I think I was already dating Maria at that point, so he knew her very early on. These are two people who have been in my corner for a very long time, and I personally think it is very reasonable for me to have expected them to be loyal to me. I expected them to remain on my side, but clearly that's not the kind of thing they were interested in doing. I found out in a very odd way. Maria came home a bit later than usual one night. That wasn't super unusual, especially because she told me that she was going to be out a little late, so I didn't really overthink it. I did think that she was acting a little strange when she got back, and while I was able to hug her, she pulled away from me pretty quickly. I didn't need to wonder why because I smelled it on her. I won't say that I'm a complete fraghead, but I enjoy fragrances and I like to pay attention to the kind that I might want to buy at some point in the future. I know what her fragrances smell like because I smell them on a nearly daily basis. However, during the hug, the fragrance I smelled wasn't hers. I knew exactly whose it was because it belonged to Paul. That's one of my best friends, and he's not crazy about cologne like most people are. He's been buying the same fragrance again and again for the last several years. So the moment I smelled her, I knew she smelled like him. It also explained why she wasn't trying to stay up close to me for so long. I acted like I didn't notice anything though. When we were talking later on and she spoke about her day, I noticed that she didn't mention a single thing about Paul. I wanted to prompt to make sure that she hadn't forgotten to mention that, but she and Paul only spoke because of me, the common connection, so it was hard for me to imagine that meeting with him, even if it had just happened to be coincidental, would be the kind of thing that she'd forget to mention to me. I've been cheated on before, so I was instantly suspicious. I've never had a reason to have trust issues with Maria, but that was the first moment when I did. I knew that something was going on with her and Paul, and she was choosing not to say it. The only thing that makes sense is that she's cheating on me with him. I did think it was possible that Paul needed a woman's advice for something that he had planned for his fiancée, but there was no reason why Maria wouldn't tell me about that. Because of that, I realized that I was going to have to find out what the two of them were talking about in their phone conversations. That would be what would let me in on whether there was something happening with the two of them. She would never answer me if I asked directly, so there was no point in trying that. It was tough finding an opportunity to dig through her phone without her being there, but when I'd got it, I didn't let it go. It was about 3 days later. She had left her phone charging, so I was able to grab it and look through it. I went to her conversations with Paul, and I could tell that a lot of the messages had been deleted because the conversation was somewhat disjointed. Some parts of it didn't flow the way I'd normally expect. I was able to confirm that she had deleted some messages because she forgot to delete one of her replies quoting one of Paul's messages. Her reply was just a laugh emoji, so it made sense that she overlooked it. I couldn't see the entire message that Paul had sent, but I could see, and the funny thing is that when you kissed me there, I... preceded by a bunch of laugh emojis on his own. I was going to read through more of their messages to see if there was something higher up that would help me confirm for a fact, but she started to stir, and I bailed at that point. I wasn't ready for a confrontation, not right then. I needed more evidence. I ended up going in for a second round the next day. I was able to screenshot the quoted message, which I sent to my phone right away, and then I went much higher into the conversation. I took a lot of scrolling, but I eventually found a point that she seemed to have ignored in her deleting spree. It was about 6 weeks earlier, and it was the two of them flirting pretty intensely with one another. There was nothing to indicate that they had slept together there, but it was clear that they were crossing a line. That alone was enough for me to end things with her. We're talking about a woman who I had loved so intensely that I asked her to marry me. We're talking about her cheating on me with a good friend of mine. At the same time, he cheated on me with her, when he should have been loyal. He has a fiance, which is even more reason for him to be loyal. They're both horrible people, and I can't wait to cut them both out of my life. There's no space for either of them any longer. Divorce is the next step for me. I haven't even gotten started on that process, but I'm going to make sure that I do it shortly. I'll start with a new life without traitors holding me down. I don't know how long this has been happening behind my back, but I know at least 6 weeks, and probably longer than that. I've documented everything, so she won't have any escape when it is finally time for me to end things between us. I'll try my best to be back to write an update once I've confronted her and gotten the divorce rolling. I don't know how long that is going to take, but it should hopefully be soon. So until then, Update 1. In my last post, I talked about my wife and my engaged friend, who I found out were sleeping with one another. It was a pretty strange experience for me because I found out because I smelled my friend's perfume on my wife. I knew instantly that it wasn't a scent she wore, and it didn't take long for my mind to pinpoint who it belonged to. I know some folks will say it could have been someone else she was in contact with, but either way, it meant that someone, very obviously male, was up against her long enough to have left a scent on her. It doesn't matter anyway because I saw the messages between her and the person who I thought it was, who was my good friend Paul. There's not much that I'm going to say in this update post, besides that I found out exactly what I plan to do. I'm going to be patient. I could go ahead and choose to confront the two of them, but that's boring. I'll end up shouting myself hoarse in an attempt to get two people I don't like anymore to understand how much I hate them. And at the very end of the day, if they don't have consciences, nothing changes for them. Instead of that, I'm going to hit the two of them in a way that I know will hurt. I'm going to end up as a villain at the end of it, but if two people have no issues being villains, then I won't have an issue when they turn me into a villain. I'm going to make a scene at Paul's wedding. I'll expose him as a cheater there, and I'm going to expose Maria too. The two of them will have to deal with being the reason that beautiful day won't see a beautiful ending. Some people will blame me because it'll be easy to tell that I sat on that knowledge until that day, but that's fine by me. Years from now, I'm sure Paul's fiancé will thank me for saving her. That's good enough. Update 2. There's going to be a whole lot for me to say in this post, so I'm going to jump straight into it. Paul's wedding is come and gone, and I did precisely what I said I was going to do there. I was extremely nervous, but to be honest, once I started, things flowed smoothly. I just let the situation develop naturally from there. It was a tough day for me. I was supposed to be happy for Paul. I was there for him for the entire day, hyping him up exactly how a groomsman was meant to do. It was so hard for me to act fake happy for him. I hated him, but I was able to find the energy to keep up the act because I knew I was going to wipe the smile off his face in a few hours. When the time came, I watched as he and his fiancée, Jen, stood at the altar together. It was an outdoor wedding, and it was truly a beautiful day. I almost felt like canceling my plan, but I wasn't going to let the two of them go scot-free. It was really going to be my only real opportunity to cause them hurt that I felt was comparable with what I had dealt with myself. Maria was in the crowd, somewhere near the front. She also thought that everything was going to go perfectly because I refused to let her continue to smile. When the priest said the "speak now or forever hold your peace" line, my heart was pounding in my chest. I hate being the center of attention, and if I had a chance, I wouldn't have been in that moment. But there was no other way for me to get the job done. So I raised my hand. There was a lot of murmuring. I'm sure some people thought it was some silly joke, but I looked at both Maria and Paul, and I'm sure that it must have flashed through their minds that I knew something. I stepped forward, and as I did, one of the other groomsmen tried to grab my arm and ask what I was doing, but I just yanked free. I looked at the whole venue and told them that I couldn't let the wedding go on. Paul had been my really good friend, and yes, I said it in the past tense, but he had betrayed me, and betrayed Jen at the same time. I wouldn't be able to let the wedding go on in good conscience. I pointed at Maria and told everyone that she was my wife. She had been my wife for 3 years, so Paul had known her for the entire time that we had been friends. Yet the obligation that the two of them had to me hadn't meant anything when they both decided to cheat on me. At that point, I had broken through the mental block, and I had no issue just letting it all out. I made it very clear that I had evidence of everything that I was saying. and I hated that I had to be the vehicle to ruin that beautiful day. But it really wasn't my fault. It was the fault of the two people who had decided to cheat. The man who knew he had a loving woman he was meant to tie the knot with in a few months, but who had still decided to sleep with one of his friends' wives. I told everyone that I had spoken my piece, and if the two of the cheaters felt like there was anything they could say to defend themselves and change the eventual outcome, they could. But I had said nothing but the truth. If they chose to claim that anything I said was false, I had the evidence to prove them both wrong. After that, I stepped back to let things proceed however they needed to. The other groomsmen were staring at me, not like they hated me, but it was a look of both confusion and sympathy. In that moment, it seemed as if the entire venue was frozen for a bit. Nobody had any idea how they were meant to proceed from there. I didn't blame them. It's not the kind of thing that anyone gets prepared for. One of the groomsmen whispered to me that he wanted to see the evidence I was talking about, so I showed it to him, and he just handed my phone back to me quiet. Maria had buried her face in her hands and bent over. She didn't want to be seen, and I don't blame her. It's hard to believe that crappy thing that you did exposed in front of a large crowd of people who know you and don't know you. Paul couldn't address the crowd because he had pulled Jen aside, and he was talking really energetically, like he was trying to convince her of something. She looked very upset. The best man decided to try to take control of the situation. He told everyone that there was probably a misunderstanding and they were going to try to figure things out. He told everyone to remain seated and wait for 20 minutes. He managed to get me, Maria, Jen, Paul, and all the groomsmen and bridesmaids into a separate location. The first thing that Paul did was come at me like he wanted to hit me, but I didn't budge. The other guys held him back. I told him that he had no right to act like I was in the wrong. Everything that was happening was a consequence of his actions, and he didn't have the right to choose when those consequences landed in his lap. I chose the most inconvenient time because I needed it to hurt. Maria looked at me and said, "Why?" with tears in her eyes. I'm not one to disrespect women, but it pissed me off so much that I was shocked when, "Oh, shut the F up, witch," came out of my mouth. She did shut up, with a look of shock on her face. The best man asked me to show everyone the evidence, which I did. The first angle that Paul tried was to claim that it wasn't him that Maria was chatting with. He said I had no evidence that it was. I asked Maria to hand over her phone. She knew saying no was enough to prove that she had something to hide, especially because the only thing they were going to check were her chats with Paul. Nothing else. She refused to hand over the phone, so I just shrugged. Paul said that we could check his phone, but I just laughed because it was obvious that he was confident he had sanitized his side of the business well, and I pointed out that Maria had done a bad job of it, which is how I was able to confirm it in the first place. He shot her a look quickly, and I might have been the only one to catch it. He was so mad at her, and I liked that. Despite the fact that they were both wrongdoers, he was probably still going to transfer all his anger to her. I asked them what they wanted to do. Jen was just standing there, her makeup a mess because of all of her tears that she had silently been crying. I pointed her out and said that it was mostly her decision. I was going to be done with Maria and Paul. They weren't going to be in my life anymore. The wedding could go on if Jen has the power to forgive them. She just shook her head over and over. Paul tried to appeal to her, but she slapped him, and it was loud. He just held his cheek and said nothing. "I guess that decides it," I said, and I shrugged. I went up to Jen and I told her that I was sorry. "You could have just told me before all of this," she managed to say through her tears. I said I was sorry because I really could have told her, but I wanted to hurt the two of them as badly as I could. I knew beforehand that she was going to be a victim, but I think it was worth it to humiliate two cheaters. After that, the best man went out to tell everyone that the wedding was canceled. I wasn't there to see how that part was received, but I'm sure it wasn't received well, especially by the people who had spent a lot of money to be there in the first place. They could channel their frustration to Paul, which would be even better for me. He'd be dealing with the fallout for a long time. It wasn't going to be as bad for Maria, so I made it bad by letting all her family members in on what happened at the wedding. Needless to say, she wanted to lose her mind when she found out because she was already dealing with enough after the wedding. I wasn't going to make it any easier for her. She told me that I had ruined her life, and before she could say anything else, I told her that she had ruined her own life. She hadn't just cheated on me, but she had done it with my best friend, who happened to be an engaged friend. She had been a bad person on multiple levels, and she thought there wouldn't be karma for her? I laughed at her. She's going to have a hard time recovering from this. She has moved out of the house and gone to live with her parents, which is the best case scenario for her. I didn't even need to push her out of the house. She knew better than trying to stay. Obviously, the next thing is that we're going to get divorced, but I'm not too worried about that. It'll likely go the way divorces typically go, and we'll head our separate ways for good. I need that closure. I've done what I was meant to do, and I don't want anything to do with this woman ever again. Your wife disrespected you to your face and then went home to you like nothing happened? That's cowardice. It takes a special kind of person to lie that casually to someone they promised a life with. And your best friend? That guy's a joke. The kind of person who smiles in your face and then immediately folds the second there's an opportunity to do something selfish. He wasn't conflicted. He wasn't torn. He was just opportunistic and figured you'd never find out. Maria asking why after everything is almost laughable. Like, why are there consequences? Why did the lies catch up? Why didn't the universe just quietly ignore what she did? The level of denial is unreal. The truth is, neither of them respected you enough to stop, and they didn't respect you enough to even cover their tracks properly. That tells you everything you need to know about who they are. Do you have a similar story? Share it with us below. And thank you for joining us today on Our Space. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.